Hello everyone, Mark Verico, owner of MAV Gunworks, continuing my video series of Reloading 101. In this video, we're going to go over case trimming. Why and should you? I guess those are the questions that's always asked of me. I'm going to tell you what I do. This is my opinion on why I case trim sometimes and why I don't. Then I'm going to show you how I set it up in one of the case trimmers I have. And I'm also going to show you a couple of the other ones that I do use and why I use them. Go over some of those things. The one thing I want to talk about, which I didn't mention at all, is about cleaning your brass. I would say it's good to clean. Everything's nice when it's cleaner, but you don't have to all the time. I shoot long range hunting. I get good groups. I'm stretching out 1,000 yards. And I might not clean my brass every time. I check the primer pockets, things like that. But I sometimes don't clean my brass. All I do is I'll reload it and reload it again. And as I stated earlier, I usually run nose loads about 3 to 4 shots. That's it. Then I sell the casings and buy new. Just because there's other reasons I talked about. Primer pockets and the magnums and stuff starts to get stretched. Even though I know a lot of people out there are getting 7 and 8 shots out of it, but that's what I do. You do you, I do me. Okay? I'm giving you my opinions on this, and you know what people say about opinions? Go out and start a YouTube recording and put it on there. That's what you do with your opinions nowadays, I guess. So with that, that's cleaning. The process is I will typically clean at the very beginning. If I'm going to clean them, it's going to be at the first step. The first thing I'm going to do is clean it. Some of you might say, well, some of your brass, if it's fired, you have primers in there. I do use a decapping tool and I decap them all. A decapping die, you can buy them, RCBS, that's the one I have. I pop out all my primers and then I clean and then I will resize. Just so you know, that's how I do it if I am cleaning. I have a method. I use a tumbler wet with some dish soap and other things in it. Everyone has formulas to do it. I will share that later on, the formula I use, and they do come pretty clean. And then I use a wet tumbler, then a corncob tumbler with a little bit of polisher in it, and in the second, a dry tumbler, and that works really good. So in saying that, that's how I clean. Now, let's get back to this video. I'm talking about case trimming, when and why. I trim all my new brass. The reason why I trim all my new brass is I want everything to be consistent. I want it to all be the same size. So when I get new brass, I go through it, I measure all the cartridges, maybe not all of them, but I try to find the shortest brass in that pack, the shortest case in that pack. Now, by doing that, what I want to do then is I'm going to trim everything to a couple thousandths underneath that. So by finding the shortest one, that's what I'm going to set my case trimmer up to. So when I set that case trimmer up to that, all the other brasses, when I trim them, will all take some off and all be the same size. Now I'm going to explain what I'm looking for and why I do that. You say, brand new brass, why are you trimming brand new brass? I am trimming brand new brass to get it all the same size because I want to be consistent. I want everything to be the same. I use Lapua Alpha, ADG, Gunworks brass, and Peterson. All that brass, I trim it all because it's not consistent, but it is great brass. I will talk about the necks later on, about measuring the thickness in the walls of the neck, making sure that's consistent. I will tell you with those mentioned ones that I just mentioned, they are very close and very consistent, and I don't have to lathe the necks, which turn the necks, which I will show you that in a later video. let's get back to case trimming so I don't get off on a tangent. But those mentioned brass, I do trim them all. Now, how many times do I trim them every time I fire it? No. I probably won't trim that brass again. I might clean it all up, trim it, chamfer it inside and out, resize back to Sammy specs, and then sell that brass because it is still good brass. I just something about it, and you can get 7 to 8 shots out of your brass, so there's still half-life in it. Sometimes I don't generally go over 3 shots with the brass that I do sell, but that's what I do, especially with my mags. More standard brass, I might run 6 times. And if I do, I might clean that, or I will tell you, I probably, in a lot of instances, will not trim them again. But what I do, because it is quality brass, but what I do is I look at the neck every time before I reload. I make sure that my neck is still in good shape, and that is trimming too. I make sure that I don't see any areas where it was smashed, or I did see sometimes, because especially you'll see this in steel cases a lot, the bottom of it gets just burned out. Even on the first shot. So you look for those inconsistencies, and you do measure the depth of the neck. And I don't see a lot of difference in that neck when I second and third shots by using them. So I probably won't trim that round again, but I do inspect it and ensure that everything is still good. If it isn't, and I do have to take a couple thousandths off again. Now everything was the same, so I can just take that shell, set up my case trimmer to take a little off of that, and then run them all and go through the same process. But if just inspect that neck, and it's not very complicated. It's not putting a rocket out in space. You don't have to work at NASA. Just use your judgment when you are looking at it. You're going to hear a lot of people give you their opinions. Oh, well. They're their opinions. Again, if you have an opinion, get your own YouTube movie and put it out there. That's what I'm doing. I'm telling you what works for me, and I am very successful at doing it. Okay, let's set up a case trimmer. I have here, which I'll put to it. I'll show you guys how to set this up. Actually, as a case trimmer I've never used before. I got it. I don't know where I got it. Some deal years ago, but I still have it. But I'm going to show you right from scratch how to use it and what it does. Okay, let me get the camera down at it so you guys can see. Look at there. It is a Hornady. Go figure, huh? You would think that they sponsored me, but they do not. I do like their products. I don't know if I'm going to like this one, but I'm going to explain how it all works. So what this is a Hornady case trimmer. It's a very simple thing to set up and use. This right here is the shell holder. The shell holder that is the same one you would use in your presses and your primer thing. It's the same thing, same shell holder. It works with this. You put it in that, you put it on this end right here, and you tighten it up. Just spin it. Now you don't want to tighten it all the way up, and I'm going to explain why. Get that turned to the top. This is what holds your bullet. Obviously, shell holder, that's what I was talking about right there. Let me find that Allen wrench that I know I had, and I probably, because I'm going to show you about the pilot and how you take that out and use that. And maybe I won't take it out because I do not see the Allen wrench. Oh, there it is. There's the Allen wrench. Small Allen wrench comes with the device, the pilots that you can see here. When you buy these pilots, hopefully you can buy the whole setup or multiple ones. If not, you have to buy them individually, and they run between $8 to $10 a piece. But it is something you definitely need for each caliber. I will show you here. There's an Allen wrench, Allen screw in here. Loosen that up. And this is how you take your pilot out. This pilot is 430 caliber. I am going to show you on a 300 Win Mag case how to do it. So you pick your right pilot, and you can see here there are several different for different calibers, 28 caliber, 338. They're all in there. So you put that back in there, tighten this up. This is the one I needed. Tighten that up. So that's tight. That's in there good and tight. Put your Allen wrench where you're going to find it again. Then the next step is getting your brass, getting your shortest run. Remember, we measured the shortest brass. This is my shortest piece of brass. So now I want to put this in here. And this is what I like about this Hornady one. You tighten this up. Now, a lot of times it just takes a screw, put it in. It takes a quarter turn. That's tight. Okay, that's all good. Everything looks good so far. We got this in there. Now I want to be able to put this in there. Now you see how that pilot's a little tight. All right, that is because that's the thing I want to talk about, which I will talk about here in a little bit. That's a little tight in there. But that's right there. I have that in there. I pushed in the knife bit, which this is a regular steel bit. It went in there all the way. I'm all the way against the brass. Everything's tight. As you can see, that's tight against the brass. This is tight. If you have a different case, what you might have to do, if you have a different case, you might have to loosen this up and you slide this back and forth until it's close, because you want a little bit of gap in between here. So now this is set up, and this right here is what makes it not go in any further than you want to. Some of these, which I will show you, have a gauge so you can turn it thousandths and thousandths of an inch. So you make sure that you're taking off just what you want to. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult to set up, which is not a big deal. That's what we want to do. So this was my shortest case. I got it in here. I got everything tight. This is how I tighten up. Now I want to turn this. As you can see, I'm not taking any brass because my cutting bit is not quite against it yet. So now I'm going to turn this right here. I'm going to turn it a full turn, and then this has a locking so it doesn't move after that. So I turned it a full turn, and you can see a little bit of gap between the setter and this. So now I'm going to push in, and I am going to start turning it. And I see a little bit of brass fell off on my finger here. All right, that's probably not enough that I want to take out. So I'm going to loosen up the locking mechanism. I'm going to turn it one full turn again. Then I'm going to tighten up the locking mechanism. Now I can see I have a few thousandths difference. So now I'm going to push it in, turn it. You can see some brass coming off here. The cutters are trimming the cast. Everything looks good right there. That's about all the brass, just a little bit. So now that's done. Then I back it out, loosen it up, slide it out. You can see in the case, she's trimmed. It looks good. I don't see any imperfections on there. The whole case has been trimmed all the way around. So now my my case trimmer is all set up. I can start with the next one, and I don't have to adjust anything anymore. Everything's tight. That's going to trim everything to a consistent same size. This case trimmer is set up now. It's very simple to use. Everything I say, the biggest thing is getting that consistency and having that set up. Now, I talked about the neck, the pilot, and the neck. This case trimmer I'm going to show you next is a case trimmer that I use most all the time. This is a Wilson. This case trimmer runs around, I'd say $160 just for this. But the thing with this is you have to buy collets for it to hold shell holders. This shell holder right here is for a 300 Win Mag. That's what we have. And the thing about this 300 Win Mag is this is for new brass. This is separate. These cost about $30 a piece. This is for new case fired. Now this one does the 300 series, 300 Win Mag, 338 Win Mag, 7mm Remington, because they all have the same parent case. So that will fit in here, but it has to be new brass or resized brass. So it is back to normal. I will show you that because this is a fired brass. And when you stick it in, sorry, get it in right in, I can't push it in all the way because the case is expanded from being fired. So it has to be resized. So I take a unfired case and you see how that fits in there. All right, fits in there nice and snug. Now they do make these for fired cases too. So you could buy two of them and do both. I have the new one. I think I have the used one in there too, but I have the new one because I trim all my new brass. So now setting this up is a little bit different than the other one. I think it's a little easier. You have to unloosen this. And then you turn it to, remember what I said about everything being the same. You want everything to be tight. I'm gonna loosen this one up a little bit. I already set this up. Turn that back to 0. I turned the dial to 0. And now you push this in against it and you see it's not taking anything. So it's not taking any brass. So now I need to, okay, I want to take 10 thousandths off of this. Let's say I'm going to take 10 thousandths of an inch off, which isn't a lot. I would say 5, but usually it's about 10 till you see a good, you know what, I'm going to take 5 just to show you at first why I say 10. So I turn the dial to 5, and I hold this tight. Now this does have a holder to hold this case while you turn, but I generally like to hold it. I just hold it in my hand real tight, and then I spin this. Now, I am not taking any brass off of this case, actually, because this case was already trimmed, so that's why. Let me see if I find one that's unfired that hasn't been trimmed yet. There we go. All right, put that in there. 5 thousandths. I took a little off. And it's probably going to be hard to see in the camera, but I can see some lines where I should take a little bit more. That does get me to a good base all the way around. That's a simple way of saying it. But I could turn this, if I turned it to 10 thousandths, put it in here, come in, give her a little turn just like that. Doesn't take much. It's done. Looks very clean all the way around. So that was my smallest case. So now I'm going to run with the rest of them. You're going to take more off of each one each time, but that's as simple as it is. That's case trimming. I will show you now with this here, I have to, after I use either one of them, those case trimmers, I have to chamfer inside and out. We talked about chamfering. Now chamfering inside and out, I have this RCVS. It has the inside and outside chamfer right here. As you can see, when this is running, it spins and I sit there and go just like that. I don't know if my cord's long enough. It might be. If you guys all hang on, I'll just show you quick. When you turn it on, there it is running. And you have to have a touch to this. You don't want to, it has to have a great feel to it. Like that, boom. Boom, that's it. You got a nice chamfered end, inside and out, so your bullet goes in easy, and it will cycle in your rifle better doing that. That is something that is very easy to do, but it's very easy to screw up too if you don't hold it exactly right. if you don't hold it exactly right and you take too much of it. But it is a very easy thing to do. There are hand ones out there. I suggest, starting out, they have hand ones. I showed you my lineman tools when we were talking about reloading tools. I showed you that whole case trimmer and everything. And Forrester has a little hand crank one that you can put that in there. That does become time consuming because you do all the insides and you have to flip it around and do all the outsides. But it doesn't take much to chamfer. And again, when you're using that, make sure you saw me drop it down a couple seconds. It takes a touch or a feel to it. Very easy to use. Then the case trimmer I just bought that I am really in love with. It is this one. It is the Hornady 3-in-1. It is really nice. It's $600, but it is really nice. It has collets that you put in here. That's what holds your bullet in place. As you can see, they're split here, so when you tighten it up, it comes down on it and it tightens up around your brass. So all you do is just tighten it up and then boom, right into the pilot. And this does, it's called the 3-in-1 because this does your chamfering inside and out all in one shot. So it's a time saver. Now, I'm going to tell you the reason why I still use the Wilson quite a bit. As you saw when I loaded this in here for resizing, guess what never gets touched when you trim this using the Wilson? And the reason why I use the Wilson, guess what never gets touched? My inside neck. There's no pilot that goes in there and is scraping around my neck. Nothing touches that. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's not that big of a deal. Sometimes when you have knowledge, it's bad because I know it in my head, so I think about it. So if something goes wrong, I might blame it on that when that probably isn't a problem. Consistency, sometimes trying to reach that point sucks because if you don't do everything the same, you can blame that one thing that you didn't do. That's why it's important, and that's why I say it's a disease. And once I get going on it, it is tough not to be consistent with everything you do and follow those steps step by step and make everything the same. So I can't blame anything but myself. And that means the shooter when I am shooting because I have everything consistent. So that is case trimming in a nutshell. That's when I do it. Remember, all my new brass, I do it. I do my used brass only if I picked it up at a range or someone brought it in or they would just use this. And mainly that's when I'm just loading the 30-06 and the 308s and the 708 for the Pennsylvania Hills or New York or whatever. That's only when I'm using those standard rifles where I'm only got a 100 to 200 yard shot. When I'm loading for precise perfection, when I'm going to be sending stuff downrange over 500 yards, I make sure my brass, because this is one of your biggest and most components that you need to be very particular about, and don't go cheap. Don't go cheap on your brass. Buy good brass. I mentioned a bunch earlier in this video, and this is very important. Never weigh your brass. Don't get that carried away. That's a waste of time. I will tell you that. I weigh my primers. I weigh my bullets. I don't weigh my gold match. They're pretty much right on my feds. But any CCI that's not a match primer or bench primer, I will weigh because there is some inconsistencies with those. So I do weigh them just to get it out of my head. I know people say, but I do just to get it out of my head and bullets and everything. But I do not weigh my brass. That is a waste of time. So that's case trimming in a nutshell. That's a little bit of advice I give you. I hope you like this video. Please like, share, follow. You want to see more of them. I always say it at the end. Probably people get so bored of listening to me, but If you follow it, you will get better, and I will get you there because I am very successful at what I do. I'm not trying to brag, I'm just telling you, and I'm trying to share that with you. I do want to do a podcast and everything else so I can start answering live questions, because walking people through it I found is the best way. So hopefully, if this keeps going well, continues to go well, I'll be around for a while. So with that, as I always says, like, share, follow, do whatever you have to, publish what, I don't even know what it was. Become a subscriber. That's it. Become a subscriber. As I get you better reloading, get me better on doing these things on YouTube. So with that, always thank you. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.